Lights on the screen, hey, it's Grant and Ryan. We bleed purple, talking hoops, never lying. Sacramento Kings, we rise and we fall. If you don't like that, then you don't know ball. Jerry sitting with the stories of the game, spilling all the truth, driving legends insane. From the Cow Palace days to Arco's roar, this town's heart beats on the hardwood floor. If you don't like that, turn away now. Kings in our blood, we rise strong and proud. Running up the score, Kings never back down. If you don't like that, this ain't your town.
Wow. So much for a happy Thanksgiving. I hope you had a great day yesterday. 115 to 106. The Portland Trailblazers beat Sacramento. I told you I needed 20 games to get a read on this team, right?
Yeah.
This is not a top 6 team in the West. And after 20 games of watching the Kings this year, I'm going to say that Keegan Murray is overrated. I'm done with his offense. I talked about it last year. I know what he does defensively. I know what he does in other areas. But right now, when you and I like Keon Ellis, but he's not a starter.
Yeah.
You're playing 3-on-5. You're playing 3-on-5 tonight when you have the ball. When the other team has the ball, you're playing 5-on-5. But when you have the ball, you're playing 3-on-5. I'm sorry. Keegan Murray in his third year, Mike Brown maybe needs to take him out of the starting lineup. I've waited. I'm not waiting anymore for his offense to come around. Can't do it. I just can't do it. You got to figure this out. You're at the quarter pole now. All right, you're at the quarter pole. How much longer are you going to wait for this guy to make a shot?
It's a long time. Yeah, I'm not ready to say he's overrated. I understand why you're saying that, and I understand why many fans think that. There's just a lack of urgency, Grant, with this team. And they just float through. And in fact, the best example I could tell you is we've gone from a team whose identity is 3-point shooting to a team where Portland is going under screens and saying, shoot the three. We would love for you to shoot three. Because guess what? You're going to go 11 for 37, or what the Kings did, 15 of 42 tonight.
And you let a guy who shoots the three from all over the floor, all over the floor, the rookie out of Tennessee who was sitting in your lap, available, and would have been a perfect fit for this team, and you didn't take him. I'm also going to, listen, do I think the Kings missed DeMar DeRozan? Yeah. Do I think the Blazers missed Jeremy Grant tonight? Hell yeah. And their other player, I can't off the top of my head, God, who were they talking about before the game? But the Blazers were shorthanded
Donovan
tonight.
Clingan.
Thank you. He's been playing well for them. And the Blazers had lost, 4 or 5 coming in.
One
they
of
weren't
4.
playing.
Yep.
Huh?
They were 1-4 in their last 5.
Yeah, they had lost 4 or 5 coming in. They had entered the game with 7 wins. So, I don't want to hear about DeMar DeRozan not playing. You understand? I mean, the Memphis Grizzlies survived just fine without John Morant. Other teams. I mean, you got to figure out a way to win these games. Not only did they not win the game, they weren't really in the game at all in the fourth quarter.
They weren't in the game since second quarter. That's where the wheels came off the wagon, unfortunately. And quite frankly, after 20 games, you and I have kicked this around. The fan base has kicked this around. The NBA pundits predicted it in the offseason. DeMar DeRozan, is he going to fit in? Is DeMar DeRozan the problem? When I look at the numbers, I did a dive on it, Grant. DeMar DeRozan, to me, is not the pace stopper right now on this team. The problem, besides the missed shots and everything that you spoke of, is Domantas Sabonis. Sabonis's turnover frequency with his back to the basket when he posts up is second highest in the NBA. And we have seen more of Domas posting up this year with his back to the basket than we have seen during his tenure. When he scores in the paint, it's usually quick. It's 2 or 3 quick moves on a dump off. Done. You're not feeding it down to him. He's not that guy. He's not. And unfortunately, Grant, you have a coach that decides, instead of making adjustments, we're just going to throw players at the wall and hope something sticks. Because that's what he did tonight. That was the strategy.
So you think coaching's a real problem right now, then?
I think coaching is an issue right now. Absolutely.
I agree with you. So does Jerry.
It's laissez-faire. It's just they were down 19 points with 5-6 minutes to go, and you're calmly under the basket explaining to De'Aaron Fox, "Oh, I think we should do this, do that." I feel like too much is passed off on the players because the players have a lot of discretion in this offense. The players have to play, but at some time or
Yeah.
some point, a coach has to put their damn foot down.
Not only
And so-
that, the game was over with 5 minutes left, and you still have
yes.
Sabonis on the floor and Fox on the floor. And we keep on hearing Mike Brown talk about he's got to lower the minutes, and Sabonis plays 41 minutes tonight.
41.
And, it's just bad coaching. I'm sorry. It's bad. The game's over. Get your guys off the floor. You lost the game. Accept the fact that you lost the game. All right? Accept the fact that you lost the game. The game's over. Get your starters off the floor, put in your bottom guys, and get ready for San Antonio.
So
all right? You lost the game.
Okay, so at what point are you pulling them? At 5 minutes? If you're
absolutely. Yes. You're not coming back with this game with 5 minutes left. You're just not.
Okay.
The game was over.
I thought it was funny that the urgency we saw at the end of the fourth quarter was because of the NBA Cup. It's like, oh, there's a point differential. You got to try to score. The Kings were scrambling. They're eliminated. Who gives a crap about the NBA Cup? Personally, I know you feel the same, but I just look.
Well, I thought Portland was playing very casually too at the end of the game, so I factor in that as well. I almost equated to a prevent defense in the NFL where you let the team go down this field, and I understand what you're saying, but the game was over.
Yeah, no, you're right. I guess it's just frustration for me that this team still, although in 3 years they've never proven it, thinks they're good enough to coast. We'll make our little 5-6 minute push, Grant, and that's a wrap. And what we saw that we were like, oh, the free throw shooting so much better this year, Napes. They're getting to the line more. Well, they're getting to the line, but now it's back to 75% tonight.
Well, guess what? You're now 12th in the West at 9-11. Okay?
Yeah.
9-11. And here are the teams that you're playing coming up next week. Houston's 14-6. Memphis on the road 13-7. And 2 games with the Spurs Sunday and then in South Texas after the Memphis game. And they're ahead of you right now by 2 games in a loss column at 10-9. Okay?
Yep.
So I always like to go in 5 game increments. Well, this 5 games, the Kings got an F. Not even debatable. An F. They were 1-4 F.
They should have dropped the class.
Wow.
Can we just get out of this 5 game increment? Can we just drop it? Move on to the next one?
A lot of people saying, thank God they switched to the Georgia game. I did the same thing. That was one of the great football games I've seen in 8 overtimes, Georgia beating their rival Georgia Tech. I agree with you. I watched that too. I didn't even watch. I was like, I don't care. I'm watching the football game. And I was so happy I did.
Well, I wasn't as smart. The paint too, Grant. You're without Donovan Clingan. You get blasted 64-34. They got out hustled tonight. Period. End of story.
I'm looking at coaching. I mean, that's to me a coaching mishap. When you now all of a sudden have the paint that you have available to you without the guy that is about the only guy in their team. No disrespect to Ayton, but I mean, different type of a player. I don't know what else to say other than the Kings got some real problems right now.
Yep,
they got some real issues. They barely beat Minnesota. I mean, let's call it the way it is. They self-destructed against Minnesota in the third quarter and only scored 12 points. And the only reason why they won that game is Minnesota's in worse shape than they are right now.
I agree. AB, thank you so much, buddy, for the super chat. What do you think we could get if we traded Keegan and Kevin Huerter, Napes?
Well, I'm not as high on Keegan Murray as a lot of other people are. I know you're much higher on him than I am. I don't think you could get as much for Murray as you think. I think he's covetable. I think that there are teams that would want him, but I don't think they're giving up the farm for him. And I think this past summer, you could have gotten a top flight player or a player that was a no ifs and buts about it return. I don't know if you could get that right now. I mean, if I'm watching Keegan Murray as an NBA scout right now, and I'm saying, oh boy, I don't know. I mean, his shot doesn't look good at times. His shot's flat at times. He isn't able to handle the ball well enough for me. I'm not giving up a lot for Keegan Murray. I'll give up a player, but I'm not giving up a sure thing for him. Whereas I think in this past summer, I think you could have.
Yeah, I think you could give up, and I don't know if the money works straight across. I think it would be the best player that you could get would probably be somebody with an expiring contract. So if you gave up a Keegan Murray, a Kevin Herter, a Trey Lyles, maybe a second round draft pick, you might be able to get like a Brandon Ingram who expires at the end of this year. I think there is still enough value there, but then you have the problem on the back end. You got enough guys. What's the roster look like in this Kings team? It's already hurting for depth names.
All right, Mike, appreciate the super chat. Mike botched Keegan's development by asking too much of him. They're NBA players. This is an AAU. He can only develop certain skills. Well, I will also tell you, okay, I don't agree with that. And thank you for the super chat donation. I don't think they've asked too much of him personally. I don't. What do you think about that, Ryan?
I don't think they've asked too much of him defensively, but I do somewhat agree with Mike in the fact that Mike Brown has not done Keegan any favors with developing his offensive game. He's not running plays for him. He's not. Grant, you could do something as simple as a high-low with DeMar DeRozan and Keegan Murray. That's a better high-low than what we saw last year with Barnes. Kings never try it, never run it.
Speaking of Harrison Barnes, the Kings miss him. And if anyone out there does not think that the Kings miss Harrison Barnes, you're delusional.
Yeah, I agree. Mike, thanks for the chat, buddy.
He's made San Antonio better and he's made the Kings worse.
Yep. We do want to hear from everybody tonight, Kings or Blazers fans. You can use the link that's in the chat. I'll put it back in there. You can scan the QR code on the screen. I guess we're starting off with a Blazers fan. Blazers rule. Welcome in tonight with Grant and Ryno.
Maybe not.
Maybe not. All right. Blazers rule. You're gone.
Hey, don't forget, we need a rant with Grant. That's coming up for you in just a little bit. So if you have some rant ideas, send them my way, and I'll be happy to oblige here as the Kings fall to 9-11. 9-11, folks. 9-11.
I don't see it getting any better. You got Wemby, who's been playing really good and is a tough guard for everybody coming to Sacramento.
You know what my big issue with the Kings are right now?
Yeah.
And I'm doing this off the top of my head, but I'm going to bring up their schedule for you so we can go over this. All right. So the Kings have played 20 games. They got very fortunate. Let's just call it the way it is. They got very fortunate to play Phoenix twice in a week without Kevin Durant, and they won both games. All right. Now, I'm not saying that they would have lost both games if they had Durant, but I'm just calling it the way it is. I'm going to give you their wins this year, okay? I'm going to just talk about their wins. Portland at home, at Utah, at Atlanta, at Miami, Toronto, at Phoenix without Durant, home against Phoenix without Durant, home against Utah, at Minnesota. Name me a signature win that the Kings have in the first quarter of the season. The answer to that question would be they don't have one. That's my statement. They don't have one.
Well, that Jazz win coming off the 60-point performance by Fox. I know it's the Jazz. Probably Grant probably probably Phoenix in overtime in Phoenix.
But without Durant.
Without Durant, I know. But that's probably it. And the bad news too, Grant, they head home where they are not playing to 500 either, and you've got a ton of games at home in December.
Yeah, well, as you know, they're 2 games under 500 at home. And I keep going back and I say this, okay? The Kings are 9-11, Ryan. They haven't yet played the Rockets. The Rockets are 14-6. They haven't played the Warriors. They're 12-6. Yep. They haven't played the Grizzlies. They're 13-7. Okay? They haven't played Cleveland. They're 17-3. They haven't played Boston. 16-3. They haven't played Orlando. 14-7. I can go on and on. You understand? Right. Like the best teams in the league are still in the front of them, right. not in their rearview mirror. And as bad as the Pelicans are because of their decimation of their roster, they're 4-16. The Kings play them 3 times in 10 days in February, and they may have the whole roster back by then.
It's a very good point. It's a very good point.
I don't see how this Kings team. I'm not even sure how they make the play-in based on what I just said, although I think they will. I think they're a top 10 team. All along, I thought they were a top 6 team up until about 2 weeks ago, a little bit longer. They're clearly not a top 6 team. There's no way they're a top 6 team. I mean, I'm sorry. They're not better than Oklahoma City, Houston, Golden State. They're not better than Memphis. They're not better than Denver. They're not better than the Lakers. And they're not better than Dallas. They couldn't beat the Clippers in 2 games without Kawhi Leonard. I don't think they're better than Phoenix when Kevin Durant's on the floor. I'm not so sure they're better than San Antonio. Well, I just mentioned 10 teams. Maybe they're not going to go into the play-in. Could you imagine if we get to April and we're not talking about the Kings in the play-in tournament, what a disaster that would be? I mean, that would be, you want to talk about steps back. And maybe I'm getting way ahead of myself because it's only November 29th. But this team looks to me like they're regressing. They're not getting better, Ryan. They're getting worse.
If that were to happen, I think that would happen before we even got to the trade deadline. That writing's probably all over the wall, and I think you see a completely different team after the trade deadline. Completely different.
I hope that doesn't happen. I hope I'm just talking about worst case scenario.
That's
but there's nothing right now that would give me confidence with this team.
No, not at all. The turnovers, there's nobody who's holding this team accountable. You know, who is holding them accountable?
Well, it needs to be in the locker room. You got a veteran team. As far as the super chat, we appreciate it. Who goes first, Monty or Mike Brown? We're way too early. Way premature to even discuss that. But thank you for your donation.
Appreciate it. Let's get some other opinions in here. Ryan, welcome on. You're on with Grant and Ryno.
Hey, what's up, guys? Can you hear me?
Yep, yeah, go ahead.
So we're from SAC. We just left Moda Center. We're actually walking back to the parking garage right now, me and my brother.
Nice. Good job, guys.
So actually flew in for the game, but I got to tell you guys, Keegan Murray is killing us, and it's very disappointing.
It is disappointing. Yep, disappointing big time.
Very disappointing, and also the turnovers, guys, and just the overall lack of fire. Yeah. And that's all I got. But
where's the bench?
Where's the bench? You know, it's just been tough.
Other than Monk, there is no bench.
But love you guys, and we'll let you go. We're heading into the garage right now. But our
thank you, buddy.
Grant, maybe a good rant would be Keegan Murray. I don't know what's up with the guy.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Good job.
Appreciate it. I mean, I thought Jones played pretty well in the last 2 games off the bench, so I don't want to bury him. I was pretty impressed with what he did.
Yeah, me too. I think he's going to, and I said it in the pregame show after Chad joined us. I said, Jones is going to have his ups and downs. He's got to find his way. Tape's going to come out. He's got to learn on the fly. And tonight was one of those nights. It's not an effort thing with Jones. At least you can say that. Definitely not an effort thing. Manny, you're on with Grant and Ryno.
Hey, what's up, guys? How are you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah, but you know the record is 9-11 now.
Yep, 9-11.
Yeah, so you know that's basically 911, right? It's like an emergency. So hopefully they get it together, and Fox, you know, really needs to either think about, you know, requesting a trade, or you know. I mean, I don't know if he could actually stick with his team and succeed. What are your guys' thoughts?
Ryno?
You know, that's such a loaded question, Manny. If I look at the sample size, no, he can't stick with this team and succeed. You've traded perennial all-star in Tyrese Halliburton, a gold medal winning player for Team America, for an all-star in exchange with Domantas Sabonis. That in exchange has only brought you 1 playoff run. De'Aaron Fox, the second part of him not re-signing the extension was wanting to see how this team develops. And if anything, Grant, this team's getting worse.
Yep. They're getting worse, and Fox has not missed a game yet, and history will tell you that he will miss some games. And I can't even imagine this team without De'Aaron Fox on the floor. I can't imagine. I don't know who they would beat.
You have no pace. Malik
nothing
would have a completely different role with no Fox.
Yeah.
Much different. Jay, welcome in tonight. You're on with us.
What's going on, fellas? How you guys doing?
Hey, Jay.
That's awesome to see the Kings fans over there in Portland, from Sacramento especially.
They always do. Every time I used to go to Portland, there were lots of Kings fans there. It's a quick trip, and they were always there. They always had a good turnout in Portland.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
shout out to Crown Downtown. They're part of the group that's there right now.
That's
They
great.
had a big group that flew over.
Good for them.
Oh,
Good for them.
nice.
Yep.
Yeah, Keegan's performance tonight was disappointing to say the least. You got to, the starting lineup. He has an opportunity to go out there. First play is ran up, drew up for him. I believe he shoots the first 2 shot attempts or 2 out of the 3 or whatnot, and he ends up with 3 points in garbage time in the fourth quarter. When he shows up when everybody's already leaving out the door, and it's going to happen. But unfortunately, we can't. You can't have 0 points the whole game as a starting power forward for this team, especially where we are with the injuries. I don't see Fox requesting a trade or anything like that.
Yeah,
really,
I don't either. He won't.
Nobody can pay you as much as Sacramento could. So there's finances that go along with that. But to Ryno's point, I know we're getting into talking about the play-in or whatever. I feel like right now, Grant, I'm surprised you gave him that much grace, because that's like looking how they're playing right now. I don't even know if they're going to make the play-in if you're looking at the standings. I mean, granted,
Right.
it's early on, but
This team's going to have to go on a big time run to get out of this hole. I mean,
Yep.
I thought after beating Minnesota, it was set up to go on a run a little bit based on the lift that they got from Crowder with his grit and everything. But man, there's just too many bad quarters for this team right now, Jay.
The first quarter was fine, tonight. But like you said, for some reason, it's this, I don't know, the third quarter, then it's tough. I don't understand necessarily what's going on with whatever's going on in the locker room. I know we have a whole bunch of new faces and whatnot, and you're adding people to the team mid-season, or not mid-season, but midway to this point. But it is tough overall. And to Ryno's point, what he said about, if they keep trending in this direction, I don't think Monty or whoever it is in charge will allow the Kings to make it through the end of the season with this roster if you continue to trend in this direction.
Takes 2 teams to make a deal.
It does take 2 teams, and sometimes you might have to take a bad deal for a short-term win. Like Ryno said, you might have to pick up some guy who's not guaranteed to re-sign in Sacramento with an expiring contract, and then you might be SOL with your depth and the guy. But overall tonight, I mean, you can't. It's the same thing. I feel like sometimes we sound like a broken record. You see, we don't shoot the 3 very well, clearly, and we allow the other team to shoot the 3 pretty well. Same issues every night. You look at the stat column, total shot attempts. We're terrible at making a 3-pointer. And you're looking at the other team, looks like a whole bunch of Stephen Curry's just played for them that night. So any thoughts on the, I guess you could say, coaching adjustments, or what adjustments would you guys make?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ryno, because we talk about adjustments a lot on the postgame show. What would be the adjustment you would make?
It's the same thing too, Ryno. Same thing every night.
Yeah. Really quick, I want to give you guys a couple of numbers. The last 10 games, Keegan Murray, 26.9% from beyond the arc. Kevin Huerter, 18.9%. DeMar DeRozan, 10%.
How many games is that?
10 games. Last
Let
10
it fly,
games.
baby. Let it fly.
Let it fly. And to your point, Jay, the Blazers 25th in the NBA at 3-point percentage.
Not
Tonight. They shoot 35.7%. Well, they were just walking into them. The Kings had no care in the world about getting out, pressing them, defending, even though it's a young team. Okay, back to your point. Adjustments that I would make. I would look at a plan to begin bringing DeMar DeRozan off of the bench. That would be one of the first things that I do. You put him on the weak side. You give him a little bit less run with the starters, maybe a less ask on defense, guarding, a significant or at least a starting player. And maybe that plays into his back. And the second thing I'm doing is I am not putting the ball in Sabonis's hands unless he is outside the 3-point line. No more DHOs from the elbows, from the wings, no more back to the basket unless he's getting it off a rebound or it's a quick pass because somebody doubles.
Who are you starting? Who are you starting for
Well,
Murray?
No, not Murray.
I mean, DeRozan. I'm sorry.
I
apologize.
Before Kevin got hurt, that was a much easier question to
Yeah,
answer.
I agree. But we don't know the severity of his injury.
Not even before he got hurt. I mean, the way he's been playing, he wouldn't. Yeah. It's funny that you brought up how he got hurt.
He can't start 4 guys.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right about that. Put Jay Crowder. I mean, some Kevin's not. No, there's just no way because he's the same thing. I mean, he's a whole defensively just as much as DeRozan, and he's way worse on offense. So
okay. But my point is this: you have to put 2 lineups on the floor that play to each other's strengths. The first starting lineup, you need to play to De'Aaron Fox's strength, which is let the floor be a little bit more spread for him. Let him attack because nobody can stop him from getting to the paint. If they run 2 at him, then you've got shooters wherever they need to be. You've got Sabonis, who does shoot the 3 at a decent percentage. Now, on the flip side, you have Malik Monk and Sabonis running the pick and roll with the second unit. So you're also staggering your rotation to make sure the right combinations are on the floor together that give you maximum output. When they're running the pick and roll, that is an impossible decision to guard if you have DeMar DeRozan on the weak side of it. How the hell are you going to give that proper attention?
I like the pick and roll with Monk, Sabonis. I think they should bring just a more simple offense back rather than, like you said, the DHOs. When you can't shoot the ball, the DHO, it's pointless. I think that I'm not ready to say, okay, DeMar, we're going to have you come off the bench. I'm not ready for that. We're talking about a Hall of Fame guy who's at the end of his prime, but he's not like Chris Paul right now. He can still ball pretty well.
Right.
But I really like the idea of that pick and roll and having just Sabonis do the pick and roll, maybe with DeMar. What does that look like? What does it look like in the starting lineup? Because, like you said, I mean, you really only see it with Monk and the bench.
Well, I'm hoping that Mike Brown didn't begin his post-game press conference tonight giving props to Portland for 5 minutes.
I can't wait to see that. I would love to see that. Oh, he always gives props.
Yeah, and I'm fine with that, but don't go on and on. You can say, hey, listen, I want to compliment the other team. They beat us, and we have no, I'm not making any. In other words, you give your compliment, but then don't go and talk about all the great things they do. Forget about that. We don't care. Talk about the things that your team did not do.
Yeah, to that point for sure.
All right, Jay.
All right.
Appreciate you,
Jay.
Hey, I want to tell you that we are brought to you in part by New Works Plumbing. They've got a fix for you. They are available around the clock 24/7 for your plumbing needs and repairs. Just go to SACServicePlumbing.com. That's SACServicePlumbing.com. New Works Plumbing. They've got a fix for you. Hope you got to Bennett's yesterday or picked up their Thanksgiving dinner to take home. Bennett's, prime seafood and steak. And if you didn't get there and you are looking for a great place for brunch, well, tomorrow and Sunday, their brunch is available to you. Sacramento, Roseville, the West Side Grill in Rockland. Go to Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Make a reservation and more. That's Bennett'sRestaurants.com. Prime seafood and steak at Bennett's. You will absolutely love it. And again, if you were there for Thanksgiving yesterday, I know you had a great time and hope you thoroughly enjoyed it. Bennett'sRestaurants.com.
Pretty good comment here. Good job, Mieo. Rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. Good job, buddy.
I watch the games off streaming site and they show old clips on NBA League Pass of your announcing, and it's painful in capital letters, downright sad how bad it is now in comparison. Well, thank you, really. I appreciate that more than you know. Thank you very much. That's very nice of you. I appreciate it.
It's pretty bad.
I always brought my energy and my passion when I worked. That's the one thing I will always stand by. When I did a game, I brought it. I didn't always have a good game. I didn't always I'm a human being. I would have games where I was mad at myself, but it wasn't because of lack of energy. That's for sure.
Do you know what was interesting tonight? If you're watching on DirecTV, you could hear the producer in Kyle Draper's ear.
Really?
Really? Yeah. Yeah.
Huh.
Pizza guys. Jersey. Yeah. You could hear him calling out the live reads.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
Yeah. I really don't know what to say. Your injuries are out of control right now.
I don't know what to say either, because you talk about this, I talk about this, Jerry talks about this. When you are shorthanded, like the Kings were tonight and have been for other games this year, you need your other players that you know are good to play well. Okay? Keegan Murray. I'm sorry. I know Kevin Huerter's struggling, but Kevin Huerter's not a bad basketball player.
Yeah.
Kevin Huerter has not played to his ability offensively.
Right.
Keegan Murray has not played to his ability offensively. And when you don't have a 20-plus scorer on the floor like DeMar DeRozan or another player, whether it be Sabonis or Malik Monk or whomever it may be, that's when you as a group have to pick up the slack. And other than Fox, right?
Amen.
Who's the guy? The last 2 games, it's been Malik Monk also, but he's healthy now.
Well, and he tried to tonight. He
I
just
know,
wasn't
I
making
know.
shots.
I
You know. Look, I go back to what Jerry says, and by no means am I an expert in shooting, but Keegan's shot looks flat. I don't know what it is. It's flat. If you watch the videos, go watch his 46 or 47 point game and then rewatch tonight's game and watch the difference in his shots in those games. And it seems like it could be something that simple. I mean, Grant, when you were around the team for as long as you've been, can it be just the littlest thing that could throw somebody off this much?
Yes. Yes. But more than anything else, it's between the ears. It's confidence. It's like the yips in golf, if you're a golfer. Or I remember Steve Sachs and Chuck Knobloch, 2 all-star second basemen that got into a mental block where they couldn't make a routine throw from second to first. Couldn't make a routine throw. All-star second baseman, among the very best of their craft, went through a stretch. I told you the story about Mickey Hatcher, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I'm good friends with Mickey Hatcher, who was really an instrumental part of the Dodgers winning the World Series and the Gibson home run in '88 against the A's. He was great. But Mickey was telling me that they had come back from a road trip, and Mickey's playing first base. And he goes out for the bottom of the first at Dodger Stadium to warm up with the ground balls. And he turns behind him, and there are 2 fans in full catcher's gear around waiting for a ball to sail over his head. Okay, that's how they came dressed to the game. So, second batter of the game, ground ball to Sachs. He throws the ball way over Hatcher's head.
Yeah.
Routine ground ball. Mickey says to him, "Saxy, just roll me the effing ball next time. Roll me the ball." Well, I'm pretty close with Sachs. So after Mickey told me that story, when I saw Sachs, I go, I got to ask you something. And when I brought up Mickey's name, he goes, "Oh my God, Mickey." Oh, I go, "I got to ask you." He goes, "Oh yeah, Mickey did say that." He told me, he goes, "Roll me the effing ball, Saxy." How about that? Anyway,
beautiful.
So we talk about between the ears, right?
Yeah.
I think maybe more than anything else, Keegan Murray just has no confidence right now.
I think he's
I'm guessing because I've seen him make shots. Have you seen him make shots? I
Yes.
saw him. How about his rookie year, Ryan? What happened to that guy?
Just the rookie record holder for made threes in a season. That's it. Yeah, I think I go back to this. It's catching a flow for him. You know, like how I always talk about off the air, being balanced. You got to have balance in your life. I feel like his game is unbalanced right now. And that doesn't mean the coaches are asking him to do too much on one side of the ball. There's just a lack of balance. It's like he's out there running a marathon, and every now and again he takes a shot or two. They're just not going in.
It was another bad loss. Can we characterize this as another bad loss? I mean, because you're playing a team that you're expected to beat. That's why I call it a bad loss.
I think it might be the worst loss of the season.
Okay, why?
For me. Because this is a team that either wins by 19, wins by 10 or loses by 19. They're rebuilding. You had a day off. You just came off of a 4-game losing streak. in which before that streak was ended in Minnesota, you had a team meeting that included the coaches. In a film session, you bring in Jay Crowder, who had a unique effect on that lineup that night because of what he brought mentally. You had a holiday together on the damn road. And it's not the points, the 9 points, it's the manner in which they lost. What about, you brought this up earlier, what about Anthony Edwards just saying to the media, yeah, we're soft. I was just talking to Conley about this. You know, we're not physically soft on the floor, but mentally we're soft.
And then they came out and beat the Clippers tonight.
Right. What about DeJounte Murray?
Okay. I don't know. The Kings to me there's something really missing right now with this team. I wish I could just put my finger on it, but it's just not there. It's just not there. Plain and simple, it's not there.
How do I put this? Because I want to put this carefully, very carefully. In the past years that I've been around Mike Brown or watched Mike Brown, listened to Mike Brown, there was an intensity. There was a belief. There was a purpose behind everything that you're hearing. And a lot of times when I'm hearing him, when I'm seeing him, and now what I'm seeing with this product on the floor, it feels like you're going through the motions. And it's almost reflective of this team's play. And I don't know what he's dealing with off the court. He just got an extension. Everything should be better than ever. But for whatever reason, I just don't feel like that's all there. Feels like something's off there.
Yeah, and I didn't feel that way in the first 10 games of the season, even though the Kings' record was still floating around the 500 mark, because I liked, even when they lost, I was saying, okay, I saw a lot of good things in this game, right? We talked about that. When they had lost close games, we're like, well, okay, but this team's going to be good. They're going to be good. Well, now we just saw another 10 games, and I'm saying to myself, boy, maybe they're not that good.
But yes, that's true. But throughout those 10 games, there was only like one of them when we were like, you know what, coach, he had a game. He won that game for him. He saved his challenges. He did this. A lot of that was player stuff. And think about how much freedom these players have on the court, according to coach. Think about the preseason, Grant. He came out after the preseason when the Kings got blown out of the water and went winless and said, hey, I basically tied their hands behind their back during the preseason. I wanted them to be fish out of water, basically. So put that on me. And I just, kind of like the Niners, I feel like there's this continuation, and it's a hunch. I have no details to go off of. Just doesn't feel right.
Two things that are apparent to me. The Kings missed Davion Mitchell off the bench. Okay? They miss him. They thought they had his replacement, but he has a shoulder injury and won't be back until at least sometime after the first of the year, minimum. Okay? And they miss Harrison Barnes, although in all fairness, I'm okay with that. You get DeMar DeRozan, I'm okay with that. It hasn't worked out the way you would have liked to this point, but you still have 62 games left. But we don't talk a lot about Davion Mitchell, and they don't have that dog coming off the bench now.
They haven't had it until now. If you want to include Jay Crowder, who we've seen.
Yeah, but I can't include him. He's only played, a game and a half. I can't include him. But
no, I get you. You don't have that player other than Malik Monk that does it offensively, that comes in and turns that dial up, right? Like if you need somebody to come use their 6 fouls, Davion Mitchell did that in a positive way. Right. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to kick it to Chad. Welcome on tonight, Chad.
Yeah, are you guys gay?
Unbelievable. Again, when you think about the Western Conference, the Lakers lost tonight to Oklahoma City, okay?
Yeah.
So the Lakers with the loss are 11-8. Oklahoma City playing without Chet Holmgren, right? We talk about what happens when you don't have a key player in your lineup. What happens? Well, Oklahoma City, I'll tell you what happens. They just keep winning, okay? Houston 14-6. They're 8-2 in their last 10. The Warriors are coming down to earth a little bit. They've lost 3 in a row. They're 12-6. Memphis 13-7. They've won 5 in a row. Denver is 10-7. The Lakers with the loss, 11-8. And now Sacramento is 9-11. 9-11.
You've got a lot of games coming up this month or this coming month with the Lakers. You've got 3 of them. They're negative 1.0 in the net rating column, yet 5th in the standings. Can you make up some ground there? Phoenix, I know they just got Durant back. Minus 1.2. I'm grasping for straws here. San Antonio, 10th now in the play-in. I got to think with somebody like Anthony Edwards, Minnesota's only going to go up. Dallas, could they come back to the pack? But I just think that group of 3, that group of 4 near the top, Grant, maybe Golden State drops out. But Houston, Oklahoma City, and Memphis, I don't see a ton of movement there. I think that's the class of the Western Conference.
I hope the Kings give Harrison Barnes a standing ovation on Sunday for everything he did for that organization and the community. He deserves it, and I'm sure they will. I'm looking forward to seeing that on Sunday.
Amen. Me as well.
Hey, it is time for a rant with Grant, and it is brought to you by EDH Motors Automotive Reimagined. This is a long overdue new concept. No obligation to any franchise or corporation. David and Adam, just 2 people trying to do something different and better. Now, they offer new vehicle brokerage. They also offer vehicle consignments where they sell your vehicle for you. And of course, they can buy your car and will sell pre-owned vehicles. Take delivery at their beautiful auto lounge at the El Dorado Hills Town Center. No dealership. That's right. You're not going to a dealership. You're not dealing with high-pressured salespeople. You're not worrying about all of that stuff. You're not getting pushed into the F&I office. Just go to edhmotors.com. That's edhmotors.com. EDH Motors, Automotive Reimagined. All right, so my rant today, I hate to rant on this guy because I really like him. He's a stand-up guy. He's a professional. He's a hard worker. He's dedicated. He's all about making the franchise better and the community better, and that's Keegan Murray. I don't know what the hell's gotten into Murray. I really don't. But he's killing the team right now when the Kings have the ball. Let's just call it the way it is. He's really hurting the team. There's no other way to say it. He's hurting the team. He does everything else well. He is a guy that I root for because I just think I know he's just a great person. I root for him, and I know his work ethic. But what the hell is going on with him? You know, you want to talk about regressing. This is the equivalent of a 300 hitter batting 200 after 1 quarter of the season. That's what we're talking about. This is a 300 hitter, with 15 home runs at a quarter of the season, batting 200 with 2 home runs. That's Keegan Murray right now. And like a good baseball player, he does bring his glove to the field and might be a Gold Glove fielder, all right, because his defense is still solid. But boy, oh boy, Mike Brown is going to have to figure out how to get either Keegan Murray going, or Ryan talked about moving DeMar DeRozan to the bench. Maybe you move Keegan Murray to the bench and try something else. I mean, you can't keep going with this game after game after game. Can't do it. I'm sorry. You can't do it. I mean, the guy's just absolutely hurting the team offensively. And we've been waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. Out of 20 games, how many times on the postgame show do we talk about Keegan Murray's offense? Twice? Or sometimes we talk about, it was good to see him get going late at the game when the game was out of reach, but then it doesn't carry over to the next game. Again, I'm pulling for this guy, but it's got to get a lot better, and it's got to get a lot better soon. Get going, Keegan. Let's go. Let's go. Wake up on offense, please. And that's my rant for today.
Yeah. You know what? I'm pulling for him too. Great kid, like you said. But
great kid.
If you move, Keegan needs more shots. Keegan needs some space. When Keegan has some space, we've seen that he can create. And I see the comments, quit coddling him. I'm not coddling him. I'm telling you what I've seen. This kid can play. He's lost in the shuffle. So if you're Mike Brown or you are anybody else, if there is one person on this roster that you invest your time in and you figure out how to get going, there's one player this season relies on, it's Keegan Murray. Period. End of story for me. It is Keegan freaking Murray. You got to get him going somehow.
Not a good night for Sacramento as we talk about. And, we look at the standings, and I keep going over the standings, and they're 12th in the West at 9-11. and you've got San Antonio ahead of you in the standings at 10-9, and you have Houston after that, and then you're on the road at Memphis and at San Antonio.
Well,
good luck.
They have a better chance if Malik, Sabonis, and Fox don't combine for 15 of the 20 turnovers tonight.
By the way, when the Kings are in San Antonio, unlike the last time when San Antonio had the night off, the Kings play in Memphis the night before the San Antonio game. Well, the Spurs also play at home against Chicago, but they don't have to travel. But the Memphis to San Antonio flight's an hour. It's not a big deal. It's an easy flight. So travel will be a non-factor. So both teams will be on equal footing for that game.
Indeed. G, welcome on tonight. You're on with Grant and Ryno.
Hello, guys. How are you today?
How are you?
Good, thanks. I'm calling from Australia.
Love it.
Good job,
guys,
mate.
Thanks. I just wanted to make a point about Monty McNair not addressing the roster issues in the off season. I thought that they needed to get rid of Kevin Huerter because his confidence was shot. And overall, I just think the roster is undersized. And if you look at all the good teams, they're all athletic and they all have size. But for some reason, Monty McNair seems allergic to size. And I just wanted to get your thoughts on that.
I can't disagree with that. I think that getting DeMar DeRozan was a good catch, but they clearly missed Davion Mitchell. As of right now, I don't have a crystal ball. They made a mistake with the draft. And again, I may be eating my words in 2 or 3 years, but Dalton Connect looks like a guy that would have fit in perfectly and gives the Kings exactly what they needed. And they went with another player. And again, he may be good. I don't know, but he's hurt. But they do lack size. So I would agree with you. I think Monty has not done a good job with this team the last 2 years, to be honest with you.
And I also wanted to make one more point in regards to the bench. Now, Lonnie Walker was available all off-season, and he's pretty good at getting buckets, but for some reason, Monty didn't get him, and we've got a bunch of G League players on our bench, and yes, unfortunately, he's just done a terrible job, in my opinion. Thanks, guys.
Appreciate
Frustrating,
it.
isn't it?
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, mate.
You know, when you don't have size, you're counting on what, Grant?
Well, you better make threes, I'll tell you that.
Threes and speed.
Yep.
This roster has speed. They're just not using it. De'Aaron's really the only one that plays fast at times. That's why their pace is middle of the league.
So this whole thing is out of whack, basically. This whole
is.
team's out of whack.
Well, great.
There's nothing that's cohesive.
Okay, take 3-pointers outside of the equation because
Yep.
every team shoots a ton of threes. What is this team's identity? What is the thing this team hangs their hat on?
Well, the second part of your question, I wish you hadn't asked, because if you had said, what is their identity? I would have answered inconsistency is their identity. What do they hang their hat on? They don't hang their hat on anything. They put it on the floor. They don't have a hook to hang anything on because they don't do anything. They don't do one thing well over and over and over again, do they?
No, and that's my point. And usually you build around that one thing that you do well. It's either defense, it's offense, it's a certain aspect of the game. It's like they're trying to improve it way too many different areas instead of just taking one bite at a time and getting right there and then getting better at the next spot in the next spot.
So let's talk about De'Aaron Fox for a minute.
Yeah.
He had 36 minutes of action. He was 8 of 18. He was 1 of 6 from 3. He missed 2 free throws. He had 5 assists and 5 turnovers. When we go back to last week, the week that De'Aaron was the Western Conference Player of the Week, when he had that incredible 60-point game, followed it up with a 49-point game, followed it up with another high-scoring game, without DeMar DeRozan on the floor, what was he doing?
He was getting attempts. He was getting to the rim.
That's correct. He was getting to the rim. Tonight, without a shot blocker on the floor, a guy that we talked about in the pregame show, was there too many perimeter shots for him and where he could have gotten to the basket?
No, I don't think so. Because
Okay.
I think that his mid-range shots that he took They were great looks.
They
And
were good. You're right.
Yeah, he got to did you see the step through that he had where he pulled up at the free throw line and then stepped through with the finger
He's
roll?
so good at that, isn't he? He's
It's
so good at that.
special. It is so
Yeah.
special.
That is that's an unguardable move. You can't defend that.
Go try that in your driveway with nobody in front of you, and you can't.
And have an ambulance waiting on the in the front yard to take you to the hospital after you break both your ankles.
Exactly right. I guess the imbalance for me probably is Malik Monk took 21 shots tonight. De'Aaron only took 18. That's way too many for Malik Monk. I would say
he had 29. He had 29 points on 21 shots. That's a very good number.
I just feel like 21's a lot. I know it's a good number, and they went under the screens, but when De'Aaron was having his games, maybe he was being a little bit more selfish. He wasn't dishing out as much. 10 shots for Domas, fine with that. Crowder 5, fine with that. The bottom line is, Grant, the shot attempts, you may be right. 21's fine for Malik. So the problem is they're not playing fast enough. The way you make up for that is playing fast. You get more attempts.
Exactly. As I said, why get a Ferrari and turn it into a Volkswagen?
Right.
You know? So no disrespect if you have a VW or whatever. I'm just trying to make a point, all right? You're not going to beat a Ferrari in a race. That's the point I'm trying to make. Okay. Hey, Sunrise Landing, the newest residential community in Calusa. Just go to CalusaSunrise.com. And again, you'll be able to check out everything they have to offer, the various models, no Mellorews, no homeowners. This is from Blazona Development. And again, it is in beautiful Calusa. Good access to I-5, Highway 45, Highway 20, adjacent to the Calusa Golf and Country Club. Once again, go to CalusaSunrise.com and get all the information you need on Sunrise Landing. Final tonight, 115-106, Portland. Next up, San Antonio, followed by Houston, at Memphis, at San Antonio. This is another bleak-looking 5-game stretch for Sacramento if they continue to play the way they are right now. And no word on whether DeRozan's going to be available or not.
Yep, no word, but you got to figure it out. Be ready for both situations, and we wait for word on Kevin Huerter. Another ankle, possibly.
Appreciate you all. Thank you for joining us here. We will be with you on Sunday, pregame, halftime with Jerry, and postgame show. Thank you for your support. Please, if you have not yet subscribed, do so and give us a thumbs up. We would greatly appreciate it. Enjoy your holiday weekend, everybody. We'll talk to you on